I live at the end of a long driveway in upstate New York, so far back off the road that sometimes delivery drivers call to ask if I even exist. The house is an old two-story colonial, surrounded by thin trees and soft earth that turns to mud in the fall. There's no sidewalk, no neighbors in sight, just me, my aging beagle Simon, and a lot of space to be alone. It's peaceful most of the time, but last week that peace changed. It changed the night I saw the light. It started innocently enough. I was in bed, reading. Simon had already curled up near the foot of the bed, snoring gently. I heard nothing unusual. There was no knock, no voice. Just a soft glow, faint amber, spilling into my bedroom from the upstairs hallway. At first, I assumed I'd left the hall light on. But when I stepped out to check, I realized the glow wasn't inside the house. It was coming from outside, from the bottom of the driveway. Now, it's about 100 yards from my front door to the road, through a narrow gravel path lined with trees. And at the very end of it, just before it opens up to the county road, I saw a lantern. One of those old-fashioned oil lamps, flickering warm yellow in the night fog. I stood there for a long time, squinting into the dark. The light didn't move. It didn't sway in the wind. It just sat there, perfectly still. There was no car, no footsteps, no sound of someone walking away. I watched for 20 minutes before convincing myself it had to be a prank, a neighbor, maybe, though I don't have any within shouting distance. Still, I locked the doors, just in case. The next night, it was there again. Same spot, same glow, same silence. This time I stared at it through binoculars. Not high-powered ones, just an old pair I'd used for bird watching back when my wife was alive. Through the lenses, I could see the base of the lantern clearly. Metal, weathered, almost rusted, but the top, the handle, was just barely moving, like someone was holding it, not swinging, not walking, just holding it still. I didn't see anyone, but the handle was gently bobbing. That was enough. I called the sheriff. Deputy Carson came out around midnight. He's younger, friendly, not the sort of guy to mock a call unless you're clearly wasted or hallucinating. When I showed him a lantern, he nodded. Could be someone playing games, he said. Could also be a hunter camping out. You see anyone? No. That's the thing. It's just the light. It's there every night. Doesn't move. Doesn't leave. He walked down the driveway while I watched from the porch. But by the time he got halfway, the light was gone. Vanished. No sound. No rustling. He turned around, confused. "There's nothing here," he said. "You sure you weren't just seeing a reflection?" Or I stopped listening. Because behind him, about 10 feet deeper into the trees, the lantern was back. It's still there. Every night now. Same place. At 10:13 p.m., it appears. Exactly 10:13. I've timed it. The handle no longer moves. Now it just stares. I know that doesn't make sense. It's an object, but I swear it stares. The way the light flickers, always angled just right. It feels like it's watching the house. Watching me. I've started sleeping downstairs with Simon. The upstairs windows all face the driveway, and I can't stand the feeling of being seen. Simon's nervous too. He growls at the door now. At night, his ears stay pinned back, and he won't eat after dark. I tried to walk to the lantern once. Didn't make it halfway. The trees, they felt wrong, like the branches moved with me, closing in. I got so dizzy, I had to sit down on the gravel. When I looked up, the lantern was closer than before, maybe 20 feet closer, but it hadn't moved. I swear on my life, it hadn't moved. I asked around. drove to town, talked to some of the older folks in the diner. When I mentioned the lantern, their smiles faded. Most of them changed the subject. But one man, a retired postman named Clyde, leaned in and said, "You're in the Malley place, right? Out near Ash Grove?" I nodded. He looked out the window, tapped the table nervously. "My dad used to say that house had a visitor," he said. "Said every few years, someone see a light at the end of the driveway. Thought it was a warning." "A warning for what?" I asked. He paused, then said to stay inside. Don't walk out to it, no matter how long it waits. It's closer now. It moved again. I didn't see it happen, but I measured it. It's about 30 feet closer to the house than it was 2 nights ago. And now, when I stare at it long enough, I swear I see shapes around it. Not people, not animals, just shadows that aren't cast by anything. They flicker when the flame flickers. They dance when I move. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I still see that yellow light burned into my vision. I tried photographing it. Nothing showed up, just darkness, even though I could see the glow with my own eyes. Simon won't go near the windows anymore. He whimpers in his sleep, runs in place. His legs twitch violently like he's chasing or fleeing something in his dreams. Last night, I woke up to find him standing at the front door, completely stiff, eyes wide. Not barking, not moving, just staring at the door. I touched his back, and he jumped like I'd shocked him. Whatever he saw, I don't want to know, because when I looked through the peephole, the lantern was on the front porch steps. No figure, no footsteps, just a flame, flickering, waiting. I finally tried to record it with video. Set up a motion-activated trail cam on a tree facing the driveway. Left it out overnight. Reviewed the footage this morning. I saw everything. The fog rolling in, deer passing, the trees swaying. But the moment the lantern would have appeared, static. 10 minutes of glitching, distortion, audio skipping. Then perfect footage again of the empty driveway. But here's the part that made me drop the camera. At the end of the clip, exactly at 3 a.m., the video shows my front door. Just the door. As if the camera had been moved. Someone or something pointed it at the door from 10 feet away. And standing behind the camera, barely visible in the reflection of the glass, was me. But I was inside. I was in bed. I swear I was. Tonight, it's at the door. Not just near it. At it. The lantern sat on the welcome mat when I opened the curtains. The flame burned brighter than ever, almost white now. So bright it left a trail when I moved my eyes. I wanted to open the door. My hand was on the knob. I didn't know why. Just to see. Just to understand. I felt warmth on the other side, like something was standing just inches away, waiting for me to make the mistake. Simon barked, loud, sharp, and broke the trance. I locked the deadbolt, closed every curtain. I'm writing this now from under a blanket, all the lights on, TV playing static. It's still out there. I can feel it, and it's not just a lantern anymore. Something's holding it. Last night, something changed. The lantern was back. Of course it was, but it wasn't sitting on the porch anymore. It was off the porch, floating about a foot above the gravel path back where it started. But now something was holding it. I saw a shape. A man, I think. Tall, narrow shoulders, long arms. No features I could make out, just a silhouette carved from the fog. He stood behind the lantern like a lamppost, absolutely motionless, holding it steady. And when I blinked, he was closer. I stared through the window for what felt like hours, heart pounding like it was trying to climb up my throat. The figure didn't sway. didn't shift weight, didn't breathe. But the lantern remained suspended at chest height, never flickering, never dimming, as though the flame was sealed in time. I snapped photos, all black. I even took out my sketch pad, haven't used it in years, and tried to draw what I saw. But the more I looked at it, the harder it was to remember the exact shape. The legs were too long. The arms didn't bend right. I sketched lines and shadows and thought I was capturing it, only to look down and see I'd drawn something else. Something with too many joints. Something wearing a grin too wide for a skull. Simon growled again all night. He started hiding during the day, under the couch, behind the laundry machine, anywhere dark. He's never done that before. I tried calling the sheriff again. Left another voicemail. No callback. This time, I didn't just want help, I wanted someone to stand here to see this thing with me. I've never felt so alone. It's like the world has stepped back and left me in some strange space between dreams and death. And the worst part? I know I've seen that figure before. Somewhere in my past. Maybe only in a dream. Maybe in a memory I've locked away. That shape. The way it stood. The lantern. It's familiar. I drove into town again. Went to the Historical Society this time. I didn't ask about the lantern directly. I asked if there were any stories about strange lights, people vanishing near Ash Grove, old superstitions. An elderly woman named Carol nodded slowly. There's an old tale, she said, about the lantern man goes back to the 1800s. Supposedly a drifter who lived in the woods. People said he used to carry a lantern and call out to travelers from the side of the road. She glanced at me, her eyes narrowing. They said if you stopped, or answered, you were never seen again. I asked what he looked like. She said no one ever remembered. Just the shape and the light. The dreams are getting worse. In them, I'm standing at the end of the driveway, barefoot, wearing only pajamas. The woods are dead silent. The fog is thick. The figure holds the lantern high. Then, slowly, he turns to face me. But he has no face. Just a lantern flame in the middle of his head, flickering like an eye. When I wake, my feet are covered in dirt. The front door is unlocked. I try to set up a perimeter. I bought floodlights, motion sensors, even laid out salt along the porch. Yes, salt. I know how ridiculous it sounds. But when you're living in something that feels like a ghost story, you try every damn trick you can find online. Nothing worked. At 10:13 p.m., the light returned. So did the figure. But this time, he moved just a few steps forward, enough that I could now see his lower half clearly. The legs weren't human, not fully. The knees bent backward, and the feet, they didn't leave prints, just small scorched patches where they stood, like the grass had been burned away beneath him. I tried yelling at it. You want me? Come get me. Who are you? What do you want? No response. The figure didn't flinch, didn't twitch, just stood there with that damn lantern. But after I shouted, he raised his free hand and pointed at me. I couldn't sleep. I sat in the hallway, every light on, Simon pressed tightly against me. At exactly 3 a.m., there was a knock. 3 short taps, then silence. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. No one uses my doorbell. I looked through the peephole. Nothing there. Then I looked down and saw ashes on the welcome mat. I drove out to see my brother, Mitch. I hadn't told him anything yet, but he said I looked like hell, sunken eyes, shaking hands, pale. I tried to explain everything. He listened quietly, politely, clearly not believing a word. I think you need a break, he said. Maybe stay here for a few nights. I agreed. We packed a small bag. I left Simon with him and promised to come back in the morning for a longer stay. That night, I felt like I could finally sleep. Until 3:17 a.m. My phone vibrated. A picture message from an unknown number. The photo was of my house, taken from the driveway. A figure holding a lantern stood in the frame, and standing behind the figure was me. I drove back home just after sunrise. I don't know why. Curiosity? Guilt? I found a front door open. Inside cold. Wet. Ash scattered across the floor like it had snowed black powder. Simon was gone. No blood. No signs of struggle. But on the couch. A collar. Still warm. I stayed in the house. I don't know why. I think I've stopped trying to stop it. Every night, I fight it. It finds a new way in. So I sat on the couch, TV playing white noise, doors locked, bat in hand. And then at 10:13 p.m., like always, the light came back, but now inside the house. It appeared at the far end of the hallway. And this time I saw him clearly. Not a ghost, not a hallucination. A man, but not quite. His arms were too long, his mouth too wide. His fingers ended in tapering burn points. He held the lantern in one hand, and his other hand rested at his side, smoking slightly, like it had just pulled something out of fire. He opened his mouth, and the flame inside the lantern grew brighter, like it fed on the air between us. I ran. I ran out the back door and didn't stop until I reached the tree line. When I turned back, the lantern was in the kitchen window, watching. I haven't been back to the house. I'm staying in my truck now, parked outside the church near town. I told Father Owens everything. He believed me, or at least he believed I believed it. He said something strange as I was leaving. There's a reason they say never follow lights in the dark. A lantern isn't always carried by a man. Sometimes it's carried by what wants to be seen as a man. I drove past the house once more. The trees were darker than they should have been. The windows reflected nothing. The porch light was off, and at the end of the driveway, the lantern was back, but I wasn't sure the figure was the same. It was shorter now, smaller. When I squinted through the fog, it looked like a child. I don't know if I'm still alive the way I used to be. I've been living out of my truck, parked behind a gas station that never closes. I haven't gone home in 3 days. I leave the engine running at night, so I can gun it if I see the light again. But last night, I heard my dog bark. Simon. A single bark. Muffled. Distant. From inside the fog that had crept in and wrapped around the gas station lot. There were no other dogs nearby. No traffic. No wind. Just that single, heart-stopping woof. As if he was behind the fog itself. Just out of sight, still waiting to come home. But Simon's gone. I held his collar in my hands. So how did I hear his voice? Since I heard Simon, the voices haven't stopped. At first, I thought it was the radio. Faint muttering, just outside the range of understanding, like a broken police scanner picking up things it shouldn't. But the truck was off, keys in my pocket, and I thought it was inside my head, until I realized the whispers were directional. They came from behind the fog, always from where the mist is thickest, always right before the figure with a lantern appears. It's never full sentences. Just fragments. Don't open it. He knows where you are. Stop staring at the light. Too late. It's in you now. They sound like different voices, some male, some female, some sounding like people I used to know. My mom. My old school friend Darren, who died in a fire when we were 14. One even sounded like my voice. I had to go back to the house. I couldn't keep running. The dreams were getting worse. Now, they don't just happen when I sleep. They slip into my thoughts, even when I'm awake. I'll be standing in line at the store, and suddenly I'm walking barefoot down my driveway toward the flame. So I drove back in daylight. The house was cold. It smelled of damp wood and ash. The furniture had started molding. The wallpaper in the hallway bubbled and split. It's like time kept moving in the house, even though no one had lived in it. I don't remember buying it. That's the thing. I don't remember the exact day I moved in. Just that I woke up here one morning years ago and called it mine. That thought didn't bother me until now. I set up a sound recorder that day. Just a cheap, voice-activated digital thing left on the mantle while I went to sit in the truck again. I came back 6 hours later and replayed it. Most of the file was silence. But at exactly 10:13 p.m., static filled the speakers. Then footsteps. Slow. Gravel crunching. Floorboards creaking. Then something wet. And then a voice, raspy, breathless, like it had never spoken before. We carry the flame, so you'll remember. Then more static. And finally, at 3 a.m., my voice. Calm, distant, hollow. It's not fog. It's breath. The fog doesn't leave now. It clings to the trees all day long, like a sheet draped over the world. It tastes metallic. I walk through it and feel watched, not by eyes, but by something more primitive. Memory. I think it's not just a haunting. It's a loop, a ritual. Something plays over and over, and anyone who witnesses the lantern becomes a part of it. Like an old recording that needs new voices to stay alive. That night I stayed inside, sat in the living room with every curtain closed, and the whispers started again, from behind the walls. Let us in. You remember the road, don't you? She's still in the basement. I hadn't opened the basement door in years. I thought it was locked. I remembered it being locked. But last night it was ajar, just slightly. The air from below smelled stale, like burned wool and mud. I shone my flashlight down the steps. Everything looked normal. Concrete floor, rusted shelves, some old paint cans. But as I descended, the beam of light bent, literally curved in the air, like it didn't want to shine too deep. The whispers got louder. You buried her, Evan. You walked away. She still glows down there. I don't know who they meant. There was no body, just a ring of soot burned into the basement floor. And at the center of it, a single glass lantern, cold and dark. When I touched it, I heard a girl scream. I haven't left the house. I've unplugged all electronics, smashed the mirrors, removed every reflective surface. But I still see the flame, not outside the window anymore, inside the corners of the room. When the shadows bend just right, the glow returns, and the figure stands again just out of reach. But now he's not alone. There are others. I count them when the fog is thin. One wears a long dress. Her head twitches unnaturally to the side. One crawls on all fours, dragging something behind him. One just weeps into his hands made of blackened bone. Each one carries a light. Each one whispers my name. I think the house is sinking. The floor creaks where it didn't before. I wake up closer to the ceiling. The hallway looks longer. The stairs go deeper. Or maybe I'm sinking, being pulled into the story, into the loop. I found a newspaper clipping taped inside the old mirror frame I smashed yesterday. Torn and yellowed. Dated 1912. Lantern seen before fire at Malley residence. One dead. No arrests made. The article said a young girl named Clara Malley had died in the home after claiming for weeks that a glowing man stood outside her window every night. Her parents ignored it until the house burned. just like the marks I saw in the basement, just like the smell I keep waking up to. Under the floorboards in the master bedroom, I found a note. A single piece of brittle paper folded once. Written in red ink, if you see the light, don't listen. If you hear them, don't speak. If they call you by name, it's already too late. But if you answer, you take the lantern next. Tonight, I heard the voice again, clearer than ever. It came from the second floor, even though I've sealed every room. It said, "She forgives you." And I wept, because I don't know who she is. But some deep part of me remembers. Some wound I've never spoken aloud. The lantern is no longer just a haunting. It's a confession waiting to be heard. It wants me to admit something. Something I've buried for so long, that even I forgot it was there. At 3:17 a.m., my phone rang. Blocked number. I answered without thinking. A girl's voice. Soft. Shaking. Barely older than 12. "Please, don't let him carry it again." Then a crackling sound, like fire consuming dry wood. And then, "Your turn, Evan." I didn't sleep. At this point, I don't think I'm supposed to. The lantern still comes every night, now without fail. The fog no longer lifts. My windows are useless. The walls breathe. But last night, it came inside. Not just the light, not just the voices. Something walked through my house. I didn't see it, not fully, but I heard the door creak open. I heard the floorboards strain under weight. And then I heard humming. A lullaby. Familiar. It was the tune my mother used to hum when I had nightmares as a child. Except my mother died over a decade ago. I spent the morning checking every room. Everything fell off. The kitchen clock ran backward. The bathroom mirror reflected an empty room. My voice echoed even when I whispered. But worse, on the walls of the hallway, I found scratches. Not deep, just under the wallpaper. I peeled it back, and underneath in rows and rows. "Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Don't open the door." Dozens of them. Some written in crayon. Others carved in with fingernails. A few smeared in something dark and dried. And at the end of the hallway, right above the basement door, written in charcoal, "It starts when you see the light. It ends when you carry it." I found the journal today, tucked behind a false panel in the attic floor. Leather-bound. Fragile. The name inside, Martha K. Malley, 1957, same last name as mine, though I don't know her. She could have been a distant relative. I flipped through the pages. Half of them were rotted, the rest written in looping cursive. She talked about the light, too, and the man, and how she saw him every night for weeks at the end of the driveway. She described his posture, the way the lantern never dimmed, the way he started getting closer. And then, on one page, I saw Clara again today. She was outside the window. Her mouth didn't move, but I heard her. She said, "It's your turn." I didn't think children could carry it. And on the final page, there's no end. Only the next, and the next, and the next. Inside the journal was a folded photo. Old black and white, cracked and curling at the edges. It showed a family standing in front of this house. Same porch, same tree beside it. A man, a woman, and 2 children. All of them smiling, except the little girl. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking toward the road. In the far left corner of the photo, nearly hidden in the trees. A figure with a lantern. So faint, you'd miss it if you weren't looking. But it was there, and I swear, it looked straight at me. I started reading aloud from the journal last night. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would weaken the thing, like speaking its name might rob it of power. Instead, it got worse. As I read Martha's words, Her descriptions of the figure's twisted limbs and eyeless face. The temperature dropped. Every window in the house cracked simultaneously, and the lights all went out. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, uneven, like someone walking with broken bones. Then the front door rattled. Not like someone knocking, more like something trying to remember how doors work. 3 knocks. Again, same as before. 3 a.m. Always 3 o'clock. This time I didn't freeze. I opened the door. No one was there, just the lantern. But it was different. Its flame now burned blue, the color of gas fires and chemical burns. It flickered higher than before, as if it was excited, and next to it on the ground, a small, child-sized pair of shoes, still warm, still smoking. I went back into the basement. I had to. Underneath the soot circle, I found another hatch. It had no handle, just a small iron ring I had to pry open. Inside, a wooden box, filled with cassette tapes. Dozens of them, each labeled with dates, some going back to the 1960s. I found an old player upstairs. The first tape I played was warped, but I caught snippets. Saw it again tonight. Closer now. I think I dreamed him before I met him. He's not alone anymore. The second tape made my blood turn cold. It was my voice, but I never recorded it. They don't take you all at once. First they take your past, then your future. Then you carry the flame. I walked through the house with a hammer, ripped up floorboards, tore down the upstairs drywall. Behind the guest bedroom wall, I found a second door. It led into a room I didn't even know existed. Just 10 feet wide, windowless, with walls covered in pages. Hundreds of pages, each handwritten, some in blood, some burned along the edges, all saying the same thing. It starts with the light. It ends with the carrier. There is always a lantern. There is always a house. The house doesn't forget. It waits. In that hidden room, propped in a corner, was a dusty mirror. But it didn't show my reflection. It showed the house. In the 1950s. Same furniture. Same wallpaper. But different people. I watched a man scream as the hallway twisted behind him. I saw a woman clawing at the window, her eyes glowing with flame. I saw children laughing as they disappeared into the fog, and standing behind all of them, the man with the lantern, never moving, just watching. I think I understand now. The house isn't haunted. It's a gate, a cradle. The lantern doesn't come from the woods. It waits for someone to live here. It doesn't feed on fear. It feeds on remembrance. You see it. You notice it. You question it. You remember it. And in doing so, you light the way for it to return. Martha knew. Clara knew. The others try to warn me. But I've seen too much. I've heard too much. And I know what's coming. I will write one last thing. Then I will go to the road. I will wait where the others waited. Because if I don't, it will take someone else. And maybe, just maybe, if I walk toward it willingly, it will stop repeating. Or maybe it never does. Maybe the house finds another owner. Another me. And the cycle begins again. There's something wrong with time. I woke up this morning to find my calendar had rolled back to November. My phone showed November 12th again. My laptop clock was frozen at 3 a.m. The same minute the knocking always begins. I tried calling Mitch, my brother. The call went through, but when he picked up, he just said, "You already left. You never came back." And then he hung up. I don't know what's real anymore. But the door, the basement door, it's open again. Not cracked, not swung, open wide. Something is waiting down there, and I think it's waiting for me. They don't whisper anymore. They chant, "Open the door, open the door, open the door, over and over, rising and falling like a tidal pulse. Sometimes they sound like Simon, sometimes like my mother, sometimes, terrifyingly, they sound like me. I boarded the door up, nailed it shut, piled furniture against it, but the wood behind the boards has started to burn. Not with flame, with light. The lantern is leaking through the walls now. At 10:13 p.m., it reappeared at the top of the basement stairs. Inside the house, I watched it from the second floor, just a flickering blue flame bobbing gently in the dark. The figure held it like before, but now it was taller, and its outline wasn't stable, like it was being sketched and erased over and over hundreds of times a second. As I watched, it turned its head slowly, and I saw its face. It was my face, but melted, eyes replaced with glowing holes, my mouth stitched shut with black wire. It tilted its head, and then it smiled. He's here now. Not every night. Everywhere. I saw him reflected in the toaster this morning. I saw him in a puddle on the floor. I saw him in the photograph of my wedding, his figure behind me, holding the lantern. I burned the photo. The flame turned blue. The walls hiss now when I breathe. Like they're exhaling, too. I check my voicemail. There were 12 new messages. I haven't given my number out in weeks. All of them were the same voice. The girl from the previous call, the one who told me not to let him carry it again. Her voice was weaker now, like she was underground. Each message ended the same way. You're next, Evan. And then the sound of the door creaking open. Last night, I left the house. I followed the fog past the tree line, deep into the woods behind my property. The deeper I went, the quieter the world became. Not even insects, not even wind, just the pressing silence of something that doesn't belong in nature. And then I saw them. Figures. Dozens of them. Each holding a lantern. Each frozen. Some small, some tall, some so twisted they looked like trees with faces. They stood in rows, an audience, watching me. And at the center of them all, one lantern brighter than the rest, held by something so tall it bent under its own weight. It extended a hand toward me, long and branching, and said in a voice that sounded like static run through bone, "Open the door." I opened the door. I don't remember how. I just woke up with the boards pulled off, furniture moved, and the basement gaping like a mouth at the bottom of the stairs. The lantern sat at the bottom step, waiting. When I reached for it, it vanished. And then I saw the stairs no longer went down. They went inward, like folding space, a tunnel that turned into itself, a spiral of fog and black timber. I stepped down one step, then two, and then the stairs sealed behind me. Inside, time unraveled. The staircase became a corridor, became a forest, became a hallway again. The walls blinked like eyelids. I heard laughter, my laughter, but from years ago, as a child, laughing at my 10th birthday cake. Then I heard crying from the night my wife died. The tunnel is made of memory. It's feeding on it. I saw Simon running. I saw my childhood dog, Harley. I saw my father's silhouette. I saw my worst failures, painted on the walls like cave art. And always in the distance the lantern, waiting. At the end of the impossible tunnel was a room made of smoke and shadow. A single chair sat in the center. On the chair, a lantern, blue flame, still, eternal. Above it, written in fire across the ceiling, carry it or burn. I reached for it, and the moment my fingers touched the handle, I remembered everything. I killed her. It was years ago, before the house, before any of this. Her name was Marla. We were engaged, but I cheated. Liet. drank. She left, and I followed her one night. I didn't mean to hurt her, just to talk, to stop her from leaving. But we argued on the road. In the fog, I lost control of the wheel. The car crashed, rolled. The last thing I saw was her hand on the window, reaching out. And I left her there. I crawled out, walked away, told the world I'd never seen her. And the next day I moved into this house. It's her. All of it. The fog, the voices, the faces. They aren't hauntings. They are memories that refuse to die. Memories that became something else. Marla didn't die in the car. She died in the space between regret and guilt. And something ancient, something that watches the broken pieces of us, took her grief and made it light. A lantern, passed from sinner to sinner, each one carrying the weight until the next comes along. I dropped the lantern, and everything around me screamed. The house above began to collapse. Not physically, but in time. I saw moments tearing like paper, years folding, names dissolving. Then the light rose again, hovering, unclaimed. One must always carry it, a voice said, or it will choose its next from the children of memory. I'm writing this from somewhere beneath the house. I don't know if I ever made it back upstairs. I don't know if this floor is real, or if I've been trapped in some memory-formed cocoon spun from guilt and time. But I know what I saw, and I know what I carried. After I dropped the lantern, the air around me convulsed. Not like wind or a shockwave. This was something deeper. A kind of gravitational lurch. Like all my choices, all the people I hurt or forgot, were being yanked into a single point of light. The lantern didn't fall. It hovered inches above the chair, waiting. And then I heard her voice again. You promised me forever. And then you ran. I spun around. Marla stood there, hair charred, face pale and sunken, as if half forgotten by time. Her eyes didn't glow. They were just sad, more human than I deserved. You have to carry it now, she said, or you'll become one of them. Behind her, the corridor shifted again, and I saw them. They don't die. Not really. They linger, twisted in time, half-shaped things draped in the fabric of memory. I recognized faces from the tapes. Martha Malley, Clara, the man in the 1920s overcoat I saw in the mirror, and newer ones, children. One of them was a boy with a baseball cap and half a face. Another floated, his eyes replaced by candle wicks. Each of them looked emptied out, because they didn't take the lantern. They fled, or denied, or passed it on too soon. The weight had to go somewhere, and so it erased them. One voice, far in the dark, whispered he didn't carry it, so we carried him instead. The moment I touched the handle, the world returned. I was back in the basement, not the warped memory hallway, the real one. The soot rings still there. The tape recorder dead. My hands burned. The lantern's blue flame now pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. And I realized something. It didn't just want to be carried. It wanted to be seen, remembered, passed. Not like an heirloom, like a curse. Since I returned, I've kept the lantern locked in the basement. But it doesn't stay put. It shows up in reflections. Sometimes I open the fridge, and it's just there, sitting among the milk cartons. Other times it's hovering behind my shoulder in the microwave door. It hums now, like an old machine warming up. I don't think I have much time left. I played one of the last cassettes. No label, just a date. December 8th, 1936. I had to manually wind into the player. The reel was sticky like flesh. The voice on the recording was panicked. Male. Young. I thought it was just a trick of the light. But then I saw it. In her eyes. The lantern. It's not something you carry. It's something that remembers you. I saw my mother in it, but it wasn't her anymore. I left it for the next man. I hope it's not you. The knock came again. Not the door this time. The window. I live on the second floor now. I moved upstairs to avoid the basement. And yet, 3 knocks. I approached slowly. The fog was so dense it painted the window like spilled milk. Then a face appeared, pressed against the glass from the outside. My face. Eyes scorched black. A lantern in my left hand. A note pressed in my right. When I blinked, it was gone. But the note remained, wedged in the window frame. You never left the car that night. I understand now. The house. The lantern. Marla. They're fragments. I never escaped the crash. I've been inside it the whole time. Somewhere between the impact and death, I must have imagined a life, a home, a second chance. But the lantern, that's what dragged me out. It found something in me, a guilt too heavy for the grave. So it offered me an out. Carry it, or burn. It's 10:13 p.m. Again, it always is. I've smashed every clock, every phone, every mechanical device. Still, the time returns. It's the moment the lantern appears. And tonight, something's different. It doesn't wait on the driveway. It's in my hand. When I held the lantern this time, it showed me everything. Not in images, in remembrance. I remembered every carrier before me. One buried it in a mine shaft and was found impaled on a beam. One tossed it into the ocean and washed ashore 6 days later, with salt water in his lungs, but no water in his stomach. One never touched it, but dreamed of it every night until he vanished in sleep. And one, Martha, held it until she became part of the flame. It doesn't matter what you do. The lantern is the sin you never speak aloud, the one that knows your name before you're born. The house caught fire last night. No lightning, no power surge, no arson. It just started from a basement. Blue flames. Silent. Not crackling. No smoke. Just rooms turning to light. I didn't flee. I sat on the porch. Watched the light consume what used to be my home. And I swear, the trees bowed as the last wall fell. Like they had been waiting for this moment. They never found my body. Because I'm not dead. Not exactly. I'm here still. Sitting at the edge of the road. Lantern in hand. Watching the fog roll in. And tonight I saw something. A car. Pulling into the driveway. A new owner, maybe. Or someone lost. It doesn't matter. The lantern pulses. Eager. If you found this journal, this account, burn it. Scatter the ashes where no one will ever look. Because if you read too far, if you see the lantern, if you hear it call your name, then it already knows where you are, and you will carry it next, or it will carry you.